We be live. Hello, Durud and Shalom. Guys, the Islamic Republic is now openly warning the United States with building atomic bombs and attacking the neighboring countries in a way that it hasn't done before. I know, shocking. Um, Mohsen Rezai is now, the new guy in the military that Moshtaba Khamenei has just picked for the National Security Council. He's been picked. He is now speaking, and he's escalating. He's talking about nuclear bombs. Um. Anyways, I don't want to. I want to make sure that I jump into the discussion group and talk about all of this with you guys in the chat. I can see who's here. Okay, all my favorite people are already here. I will jump into the group discussion so we could talk about this and a lot more with people in our group. Guys, you could join the group if you want and participate in these discussions. The link is in the QR code in the top left. The link is also in the description. By the way, guys, from the people who join our group calls and are participating and are active members, then that's where we pick the panelists that come up here and talk with the rest of us in our other panel shows, right? Anyways, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to talk about this and a lot more with the people in the group. So let me just jump right in. Arminception, yes. Okay. Oh, yes. And fun saying hello, Armin, and those who are joining. Thank you so much. Okay, let me just jump right in and see. So we stop this Arminception here. They probably are already in the middle of a discussion here.
Straight down, not out in the way. Hey, Armin.
Hello, Jose, and everyone else.
Hey, Armin.
Armin, hello.
Hello.
2 million real per US dollar. How about rich bad?
Yeah. Yes. Oh my God, guys. Yeah, the currency in Iran has dropped, had a new record, and that was like, Jose is following everything. That's good, Jose. Yeah, 2 million reals for each US dollars. This is, and gold prices and US dollar is higher than ever before, and it's not just that is higher than ever before. It's the speed at which we're hitting these new records is insane. So inflation is at all times high, especially when it comes to food prices. But everything else, the currency is dropping like a rock. And this is just the beginning, guys. Again, if we continue this way, the worst is about to happen in about 3 or 4 months, if the analysts are correct. Because remember, the Islamic Republic still has oil to sell, not oil to export, but oil to sell, right? Because people are like, where is the Islamic Republic? Where do they have this oil? How are they selling it, right? A lot of people think that because you can't get oil out, that means that you can't sell any oil. No, you can't, because the blockade is doing its job perfectly. All the data shows that the United States is very much able to stop oil leaving the Persian Gulf area. But if you guys remember, the blockade was removed temporarily after the MOU was signed, and a lot of oil tankers made it out when the blockade was removed. So that means that there are millions of barrels of oil in oil tankers sitting at these oil tankers in around the Malaysia and close to China, and they're just sitting there. And every day they're selling them to China, and China is buying them, right? In fact, China is buying them at a premium price this time. So even though there's no oil making it out of the Persian Gulf area, those barrels are sitting there around China and Chinese refineries, these teacup refineries, as they call them, because they're very small, and they are good at going around the U.S. sanctions. They're actually designed for that. Some of them are. They keep buying oil from these tankers on a daily basis. And the prediction is that they're going to, if the blockade continues, because you cannot keep filling these, because there's nothing adding to it. The prediction is that in 3 or 4 months, we will run out. Now, as Nail Bunny mentioned last time, 3 or 4 months, that's a long time. So that's why Scott Bessent is going to announce soon, on Monday, he's going to announce new sanctions or new ways to stop the Islamic Republic from to sell its oil. And hopefully on Monday, we're going to hear about China, because he said this is going to be a big deal. Hopefully, it's not going to be underwhelming. He'll play like an eight, because when it comes to code, because I think I'm going to quit my cloud code, because I think it's slowing my computer down. Doing operations in the background. Okay, so I'm back, right? Yes. So because when it comes to import and export of non-oil goods and services, the main countries are still China, UAE, um, Pakistan, Turkey, Iraq. But so with UAE out of the picture now, the number one priority should be China, and to stop China from doing both oil trade and non-oil trade with the Islamic Republic is going to be way more difficult than anything else. Way more difficult, because China has the power to respond economically. So we have to say, if United States is willing to go all out against China doing trade with the Islamic Republic, because if they do, this would be as one economic analyst said, would be uncharted territory. Like, this would be a level of isolation. It's already a level of isolation that hasn't been seen before. But if they could add that on top of that, then it would be like that more so. But even with the current level of isolation, the Islamic Republic seems to have 3 or 4 more months before things get really bad. So imagine how bad things are. As Jose said, the dollar hit 2 million reals today, but people are predicting, I don't know if it's true, but people are predicting that what's about to hit Iran is far worse than what we're seeing right now, which I can't even imagine what that's going to look like. So the Iranian people are also going to be in much worse situation than they are right now once that happens. But hopefully that leads to the fall of the Islamic Republic. Mohsen Rezai yesterday came out and gave a whole bunch of new statements on the Islamic Republic State TV. He issued a major warning to all the countries who would participate in Scott Bessent's isolation of the Islamic Republic. And he said that we will consider that an attack, and first we will warn those countries, and then we will do an attack, a major attack against the countries who participate with the Americans. They will consider that as war against the Islamic Republic. So a lot of people might not understand, like, isn't the Islamic Republic already bombing its neighbors? Yes, but what they're promising is something much more significant, which is basically hitting the civilian infrastructure at a level that they haven't done yet, right? And the only reason why they haven't done yet is because if you cross that line, then United States will start crossing that line as well. But both sides are basically, it's a game of chicken. Who will hit civilian infrastructure of the other side at that scale first? Because the Islamic Republic has hit civilian infrastructure as a warning, but not to the point of trying to completely, because they could go all out on energy infrastructure, water desalination, and data centers if they wanted to. And the only reason why they haven't done so is because they're afraid of the consequences, because the United States could then go do the same thing and go all out. But he's now warning. The fact that Mohsen Rezai is now warning that shows that they're feeling the pain, and they know that this is their weakness, that it could that this is starting to really hurt. The Islamic Republic is admitting the pain in a way that they haven't done before, because usually these people like to pretend that it's all good and we can survive this. But we saw both Ghalibaf and Pezeshkian coming out and saying that this is unbearable. Ghalibaf actually went as far as saying that we will not be able to survive this if we don't come up with this, which is a huge admission. In fact, today I saw so many newspapers of the Islamic Republic are now condemning these types of statements from Pezeshkian, Hemmeti, the head of the central bank of the Islamic Republic, and Ghalibaf, saying that they are spreading, they're being defeatist and spreading a narrative of weakness to our enemies by doing so. By the way, Mohsen Rezai, which again, remember, has been newly appointed as part of the National Security Council, at the head of the National Security Council by the office of Mujtaba Khamenei. They say by Mujtaba Khamenei. We don't know if that's true because we don't know if he's alive or not, but either by him or the people who are speaking on his behalf, which means that Mohsen Rezai speaks for the supreme leadership more than anyone else when it comes to military stuff right now. And he just came up with a nuclear threat, talking about what the United States has done has made everybody want to get a nuke, directly, basically, also threatening that, suggesting that they're going to go and their strategies go for a nuke as well. The fact that somebody who is this directly representative of Mujtaba Khamenei is now talking about going nuclear shows that the Islamic Republic is feels desperate and in great need to advertise its deterrence capabilities that it doesn't have, but is threatening that they might have. By the way, who's modding today?
That would be me.
Okay, so thank you, Nelbany. All right, so yeah, that was a long talk. Sorry. Do we have any twos?
Yeah, first is Sherry.
I have two quick questions. When you say Iran, the RGC, has oil to sell, is it real oil or is it oil that's going to kill everybody's engines? Do they have the ability to turn oil into gasoline?
Yeah, no, that's real oil, and that is real oil in oil tankers sitting on, yeah, yeah. No, nobody would buy that. The what you're thinking of that will destroy people's cars, that's not the oil. That is basically car fuel after the refining of oil, right? You won't be able to sell oil that is not oil to countries. They won't buy it. What you're thinking of is what you sell at the consumer level, right? At the consumer level, at the gas station, right, where people, yeah. So that's what you're thinking of. Like giant companies and refineries around the world are not going to pay billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars for something that is not oil. We're talking about crude oil.
Does the RGC have the ability to process oil into gasoline? Or do they depend on someone else?
They have some refineries, which is not enough. This is why they have to buy. That's a really good question, Sherry. It's actually something very embarrassing for the Islamic Republic because they are one of the countries with the most amount of oil and gas without the ability to produce enough car fuel for themselves. They have to export the oil, get other people to refine it, and then import the fuel to be able to use it, which is embarrassing. So they have refineries, but it's not enough. And one of their main sources for car fuel is Russia. And given that Ukraine just recently bombed a lot of refineries in Russia, the Islamic Republic, one of the reasons why there is shortages of car fuel in Iran is because of Ukraine attacking refineries in Russia. So, and the reason why there is a shortage and the higher prices of fuel prices. Again, I'm trying not to say gas prices. I know Americans say gas. I'm on purpose saying car fuel because I don't want the non-Americans to mix car fuel with natural gas, right? In America, they call car fuel gas, but that's what in the rest of the world, when we say gas, we're talking about natural gas. So I'm just saying car fuel so that people don't get confused. So, yeah, so now, that's the reason why there is such a big shortage, and that's why they're mixing it with other stuff that is destroying the cars. And yes, Slava Ukrainian. Okay.
Next is Jose.
Okay, when you said, I heard this, that he did say the nuclear option, and I'm thinking, what do they have that they can do with the nuclear option? And I remembered all of a sudden, that's why I put my two in rather late, was that last week there was a major Iranian owned or IRGC owned, whatever, um, oil tanker that they filled up at Carg and parked it there. Guys, 2 million barrels of oil parked. Okay, this is so they can relieve their supply fields. There, 2 million barrels. If that ship is blown up, that oil will destroy everything in the Persian Gulf, which includes the majority of the water purifying that they need in the region. That is the same as an atomic bomb to the people of the Middle East and the Persian Gulf, including their own people. You know, we know that these guys are suicidal, and obviously, this new guy in charge just threw a live grenade into the negotiators on the U.S. side's hands, saying, "We still got you." So honestly, I don't see any reason to negotiate. Just keep the pressure on. But warning, there is a threat that they have control of.
Okay, thank you, Jose.
Next is Alistair.
So regarding like this whole like economic D-Day that the administration is talking about and doing, I really hope that they kind of have the like the chutzpah, to say the least, to go after China on this end, because I feel like unless they cut off the Chinese end, they can cut off like the Persian Gulf trade and all that. That's mainly, like, from my understanding, food and humanitarian aid and supplies and that stuff. The regime is more than happy just to cut that all off and just let the population starve. They don't care. They'll do that. But unless you cut off their access to get USD and the Chinese banking system, the Chinese end of it is enough to keep the regime alive. Not enough to keep Iran and the people alive, but enough to keep the regime alive, if that makes sense. So I really hope the administration really tackles the Chinese end of this on this economic D-Day front.
That is correct. That's correct in the sense that the most direct way to hurt the Islamic Republic is to reduce their access to foreign currency, especially US dollar, right? And the most important access that the Islamic Republic has to foreign currency, most importantly US dollar, is China. So if you could find a way to cut that access, that is the most direct way to hurt them where it hurts the most when it comes financially, right? But all the other things, it is true that they don't care about the people. It is true that they're willing to cut from everything else, and that will not hurt them as directly as them losing access to US dollars and other currencies, because that's what they need. The foreign currency, especially US dollar, is what they need to be able to pay their proxies and their armed forces to stay in power. However, if they have to cut from everything, government spending, and they have to stop paying their government employees, which is a major part of employment in Iran, then life will be so difficult, and the entire infrastructure of the machine that the Islamic Republic will, it's easy to imagine that, okay, just pay people with guns and they could maintain power. I understand that. But if everything else breaks apart, it's going to be too chaotic to be able for you to hold things together. And there are going to be many people within the regime itself that will find life unbearable and turn against each other, and turn against the regime. And many people that the regime relies on will turn against the regime, right? And it will be very, very difficult to maintain control if that happens, if it gets to that level. But so it's not like they can't afford not to care about that completely. They have to care. They have to maintain some level of, well-being and stability, or else people will riot at a level that they haven't seen before, including their own people. But you are correct that the most direct way to hurt them is to remove, like, if we're talking about import and exports of non-oil based goods and services, that would be a longer term investment in seeing the collapse of the Islamic Republic than if we're only focusing. Obviously, the fastest way is to do military operations and also arm the Iranian people. But when the financial and the economic realm, you're completely correct that the most direct way to hurt the regime is to go with to focus on to try to cut the Chinese access. Does that make sense, Alistair?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that was a very good point. One thing else is that because what Jose was saying, I went and got the Mohsen Rezai quotes, right? So Mohsen Rezai said U.S. policies have increased. So this is again from the appointee of the supreme leadership in the National Security Council. He said U.S. policies have increased global interest in nuclear weapons rather than enhancing nuclear security. Countries see that participating in international monitoring efforts, as Iran has done, is no protection against attack. So he's basically trying to say we're going to go nuclear without saying we're going to go nuclear. That's what this is designed to do. And this is them basically trying to cause international pressure on the United States to back down when it comes to this military isolation of the Islamic Republic. But they're having harder, like it's obvious that the Islamic Republic is finding it harder and harder to inflict a cost upon the United States for this blockade. And they are running out of ideas on what to do to break this blockade, this economic blockade. All right.
Next is Kathy.
All right, so I'm gonna post my school post in the chat. It's regarding this topic, particularly with the 2 million rial. Probably makes a point where he explains that the real has gone up 28,571 times more than it was before this when the Islamic Republic took over Iran. My concern is this: it's more of a double-edged sword. It's good in the sense that it shows how weak they are and they're closer to falling. What worries me is that they're going to have the Iranian people feel it first before they even feel it, because they don't care about the Iranian people. They don't give a shit about themselves. Now, is that a sort of a benefit? Possibly, because it just brings us closer to an uprising, because the Iranian people are getting closer and closer to unaffording the essential needs for day-to-day life. But that also has me concerned because I don't want the Iranian people to suffer.
Thank you for making this post. I'm just going to read this saying you posted this saying the price of the US dollar crossed 2 million real mark today. The dollar is now worth 28,000 times more than it was when the Islamic Republic came to power. Holy crap. Nearly 5 decades of corruption, mismanagement, and incompetence under the Islamic Republic have brought poverty, economic decline, and isolation on the Iranian people. 5 decades of experience have made one thing clear: reform with the Islamic Republic is impossible. Today, the Islamic Republic is driving Iran towards the edge of a cliff. at ever increasing speed. It is now the duty of every Iranian, including government employees and members of the country's civil service, to do everything possible to obstruct the regime's destructive actions and weaken its ability to continue them, helping and create the conditions for its removal and for saving Iran. So this was by a post by Princess of Pahlavi, right? Princess of Pahlavi's, yes, by Princess of Pahlavi, not the Comte team, by himself. Okay, so by the way, so it's important. Thank you, by the way, Kathy, for sharing that. One thing is important to mention all the time is that leftists in the West try to say that the reason for this hardship of the Islamic Republic is not because of the mismanagement of the Islamic Republic. It's because of the United States and Israel. It's very important to point out that the Islamic Republic, many Islamic Republic officials themselves are motivated to say that this is not because of America and Israel, but because of mismanagement, which is kind of ironic. But the reason why they are motivated to say that is because they don't want to act like the Americans and Israelis are winning, that they want to blame it on people like Pezeshkian and the executive branch. The truth is that but some people like say, well, I mean, how could you just blame the Islamic Republic? Obviously, the sanctions have an effect. And that's true. The sanctions do have an effect. So it's not, it's something like, okay, if the sanctions have an effect, then it's not just mismanagement. It's not. So there are multiple things to blame. Mismanagement by the Islamic Republic, the investment of the resources of Iran on trying to wipe out Israel and export the Islamic revolution outside of Iran, and to build a network of terrorists around the world. That's number two. But some people say, like, well, Armin, other people here, be fair. It's also because of US sanctions. You can't just blame everything on the Islamic Republic. What do you say to that? To that you say, well, who caused the sanctions? Like, what do you want the United States to do? What do you want the international community to do? Like, you're violating the border integrity of multiple countries and their sovereignty over their land, and you're spreading terrorism across the whole world. What should the world do? Just watch and let you do it? This is the least that they could have done. When you attack the world can only respond in three ways. One is do nothing, the other one is military operation, and the third one is financial pressure. So economic pressure, I mean. So a leftist who tells you that, like, tell me which one of these three are you endorsing? Because not doing anything is not an option. If you are attacking, killing civilians of other countries and doing this much supporting terrorism worldwide, you can't, if you want to choose not doing anything, then okay, you're an idiot and not worth talking to. So basically the choices are military operations and economic pressure. So by being against economic pressure, are you endorsing military operation? Because, oh, okay, I guess I agree with you. Like, yeah, sure, let's go with military. If you want to do military operation instead of economic pressure, let's go with that. But you can't. There is no way that anybody could suggest that the world should just sit back and watch the Islamic Republic, financing and training and supporting terrorism everywhere in the world without any responding to. By the way, Kathy, did that make sense?
That made 100% sense. I appreciate it.
Okay. And thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure. Anytime.
I actually have a quick question, and that is, how insulated are members of the regime from the actual day-to-day consequences of the basically economic sanctions? Not sanctions, but economic, whatever we call whatever Scotty B's doing. How insulated are they? Because, I mean, they don't have their own electricity, and they don't, it has to affect them somehow, right?
So the people who are very rich in Iran are not feeling any of this. All right. But the way that they're feeling this is that they're feeling so if you're looking at the lifestyle of rich people, their lifestyle is not affecting. Like, they're not missing out on electricity or internet or power. They're living in like the people who are living rich in Iran, they're living lives that rich people in Beverly Hills will be jealous of. I'm being honest. Like if you actually put their mansions side by side, they're living better lives in Iran than they're living in LA, right? So like personally, these people are not experiencing that much hardship because of the economic pressure, but emotionally they're stressed out of their mind if you're part of the regime, because they might be able to pay for their mansions and their expensive lifestyle, because that's pocket change compared to the money that they need to continue their war machine and basically all the operations and all the activities that keeps the Islamic Republic alive. So like when we're talking about the money for that is needed to keep all of this functioning, we're talking billions. But when we're talking about fancy lifestyles, we're talking tens of millions, or like at max hundreds of millions, which they can afford. But they're not very. But some of them are like sleeping in their like very expensive mansions, pissing themselves at night because they don't know if they're going to be able to survive this or not, right? What the thing that hurts their lifestyle is Israeli drones and missiles hunting them down, right? Because then they have to go hide in a hole somewhere. That affects their lives, their personal lives more than the financial isolation of the Islamic Republic. Does that make sense now, Bunny?
Yes, and I think more of that would be great.
Yeah.
Next is is Indiana Vasey.
You might be
Oh.
referring to me there, Nail Bunny. Hello there, everybody, and hi, Armin. Thank you very much for taking my response. Of course, Armin, don't worry about referring to me as Herr Professor. You know me well enough from your live broadcasts with Ali to simply call me Aryan, and that goes for everybody else as well, of course. Armin, following on from what you had mentioned with regards to Ghalibaf and Pezeshkian, recently coming out and admitting that the regime's ability to persevere from the economic pressures are rather dire. I want to know your perspective as to how likely are we to see the likes of these so-called quote unquote pragmatists and moderates, so your Ghalibafs, your Pezeshkians, Khatamis, Arakchis, eventually mobilizing other prominent and powerful figures within the regime to default into, say, survival mode for the sake of regime perseverance. Now, I am of course aware that the regime is massively fractured at the moment, and currently there are many who will never entertain this notion. But under the circumstances, could we see this possibly manifesting, and what sort of an outcome might we observe precipitating from this in terms of the viability of this perpetuating the regime, but also maybe, what would the prospective US response be and the response of the Iranian people? I do apologize about being rather wordy, but luckily for the super chats, it was only condensed into 200 characters. So I hope you got that, Armin.
So I'm gonna try to remember all of that, and if I forget, like remind me again. Okay. So, and welcome. By the way, it's so great. It's so great to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to our group.
Thank you, Armin.
Yeah, no worries. So when it comes to, so as I mentioned, Ghalibaf and Pezeshkian came out and gave speeches that was unprecedented. Ghalibaf has going as far as saying that we need to go back. We need to end this situation that we're in because we're not going to be able to survive this. He also mentioned that militarily, it's good to have a strong military, but without a good economy, people are going to basically starve, and we're not going to be able to have a military if we don't have a good economy. So basically showing how devastating the situation is. Hemmati was out there saying similar stuff. Pezeshkian also. I'm not going to go into the details exactly what each one of them said. Khatami is out and saying similar stuff. The fact that Khatami is back shows that they are desperate. Hassan Khomeini, the grandson of Ruhollah Khomeini, the first supreme leader and the founder of the Islamic Republic, is out, and he's technically a reformist, and so-called reformist, quote unquote reformist, and he suggested that we should go for peace by referring to Muhammad's peace with the Qurayshis, right? Basically saying that when Prophet Muhammad did peace with the Qurayshis, he managed to conquer them anyways in 2 years. So just because we go for peace, that doesn't mean that we're not going to conquer our enemies and defeat them anyways, just like Muhammad. By the way, this is actually very important for people to see in America, that the so-called reformers are trying to argue for peace by referring to the story of Muhammad, that when he got peace, he managed to buy time for 2 years to raise a giant army to then go conquer the people that he had peace with. So this is very important for the Americans to see, that the so-called moderates or reformers are suggesting peace is just a temporary pause before we go destroy our enemy. But the fact that Khatami is out speaking, the fact that Hassan Khomeini is out and speaking, shows that as much as we have a major mobilization on the pro-tension people, which are mostly Mohsen Rezai, Vahidi, and Abdullahi, we also are seeing major mobilization on the people on the other side, thinking that tension is not going to work, because the Americans are too powerful and we're not going to be able to win this, and we need to go back to the negotiating table and end all of this. And there's a major mobilization there happening as well. All the arguments that they're making, though, is really hard to get the jihadi people who are traditionally pro-regime to agree to that. It's a really tough pill for them to swallow. So I think these people are trying to appeal to the anti-regime people by showing that they are that the people who are for tension, that they're going to push a country off of a cliff, right? So I think the strategy of the people on the other camp, which is the Ghalibafs, the Pezeshkians, the Khatamis, and eventually I think it will be also the Rouhanis and Zarif, that we can't bring them in completely in yet because they have been used as scapegoat for so long that they're too hated by the pro-regime people. But I think that the economic situation might get so desperate that Zarif and Rouhani would be brought in again to as well to make these arguments. I think if I was the Ghalibaf camp, I would basically make this try to send this message out, right? And I know for many Iranians this won't work, but it's worth the effort. I would try to get the anti-regime pro-Pahlavi people to make them feel like they have to work with me, right? Like, yeah, I know you hate me. I know I'm part of the Islamic Republic, but these jihadis on the other side, they're going to bring the whole country to war, and we're all going to go down anyways. It's going to be this economic devastation because of this isolation. I know you guys might like America and stuff, but we can't tolerate this, and you can't tolerate this. So let us save you from these jihadi type people that are going to basically make the whole country go to shit. Because you came out in the streets, we killed the tens of thousands of you, and you tried to bring Pahlavi back, but that didn't work out, okay? And we might be here for years. We might be in this situation for years under this economic isolation, and your lives are going to get more and more and more miserable. And at least we say we are willing to submit to the Americans and ease up the economic tension to bring some much needed economic relief to the country. That is what I think they're gonna try to appeal to many people who are anti-regime, but maybe have less hope that there is a chance to topple the Islamic Republic. Because from some people's perspective, they're hoping is that they thought that the death of the Khamenei would bring about a quick end of the regime, and because it didn't do that, maybe this might not work out with the way you guys wanted to. So at least help us get us to a place where these jihadi people are not, these full-on jihadi people are not in power. Again, I'm not saying any of that is right or true. Obviously, all of these people, as you heard from Hassan Khomeini's speech, at the end of the day want to go back to destroying America and Israel and all of that garbage. But this is the propaganda that I would push for if I was that camp. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense, Armin John. I mean, I suppose I wanted just one other aspect to be cleared up, and that's regarding what the response of the Iranian public would be if this were to become a viable deal that were to be made between the U.S. and Iran, the U.S. and the regime. Sorry.
So I don't see a path to any viable deal between the United States and the regime. Even if they magically somehow manage to get to a deal that they actually sit down and sign, it would be a temporary deal that the Islamic Republic would eventually violate, right? So I don't see any path to a viable deal. But I do know that from at least from the people we know, is, I mean, when you say the Iranian people, we have to, be careful who exactly are we talking about, right? But the impression I have is that the vast majority of the Iranian people do not like any mention of a deal. Like, even if we don't get a deal, the fact that the United States is still even attempting to negotiate with these people, the fact that the deal is still on the table, the fact that agreements, negotiations, talking, the fact that there's even a channel, a line of communication between the United States and the Islamic Republic, really angers them and really makes them feel like maybe the United States doesn't understand the Islamic Republic. There are many people within Iran that think that Israel understands the Islamic Republic and the United States doesn't. There are also some people on the other camp that think like, no, the United States obviously, like President Trump obviously does understand the Islamic Republic, and this is all just for game, it's a show, it's a 5D chess. But there's also people who think like, yep, nope, these people, Trump fell for the same trick that Obama and Biden fell for, right? So they're like, okay, apparently these mullahs know how to fool Americans every single time. They make it seem like they're worth talking to and negotiating with, and even Trump fell for that. Some Iranians, and that's why some Iranians say that the only, again, not all, many Iranians are very, very pro-Trump, but some Iranians think like the only two things we could trust is Pahlavi and Israel.
That makes complete sense, Armin John. Thank you very, very much. As always, you've answered my question beautifully.
And thank you for the great questions.
Thank you very much, Armin.
Next is Samantha.
Okay, so before, when you were saying like, well, if you were saying something to the effect of like, well, if you don't want us to do sanctions, then we have to do military action. So because like we can't have them funding terrorists. So like, what does the left want? I have to say, the far left would tell you that the Islamic Republic is not funding terrorism. So, like,
yeah. And yeah, and then what do I do?
Terrorist, but they would argue Hezbollah is not terrorist, and yeah.
Yes. Yeah, but when you hear that, then what do? I do I just like that's
a good
say like
question.
No, I know that's a good point, Samantha. Like, but what would I say? Because my first thought would be like, just say, okay, sure, buddy, and then walk away, right? Right. But my second thought would be like, maybe it's worth discussing this with that person, right? What would you say to that person?
Honestly, because it's like trying to go down the rabbit hole of touching Israel is just such a horrifically difficult battle that it's like probably better to go down the rabbit hole of like, showing them things about like like oppressing Lebanese people by like forcing religious like dress codes on like Lebanese people or shit like that. Or like honestly, the Houthis also attacking Saudi like unprovoked might be a better way of going about it.
Samantha, let me tell you what I've actually. Let me be more actually. Let me actually tell you what transparently what I would think at that moment. Okay, if it's being live and recorded, right? At that moment, I would be thinking to myself that this person is probably too far gone. And even though there might be a chance that I could spend time with this person and change their mind, the higher priority would be for me to just get this person talking, right? If it's being live on air or somewhere, right? So I just want to make it like I would then start asking questions that makes it, this person would make it very obvious that he's a leftist, right? And then I would also want to then, after that was made clear, I would then also proceed to ask questions in a friendly way that this person would not feel intimidated. I would then proceed to ask questions regarding the types of activities that the Islamic Republic has done historically and whether or not they would be considered terrorism or not, right? And then if he or she does not consider them terrorist activities, I would not challenge them. I would just move on to the next one and say, what about this? And then there will be people in my audience that would be angry with me because they would think like, oh, I'm just letting this person defend terrorism without challenging him. But the only reason why my audience would be angry with me is because they wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing. Because the fact that these activities are terrorism are obvious to me, and I don't feel like I need to challenge it. Like I think I would be insulting the intelligence of my audience to challenge them and say like, here's why this is terrorism. What I want to establish here when I'm questioning this person is to draw a clear line between this person being a leftist and the fact and a list of activities that are clearly terrorism, and he doesn't see them as terrorism. I just want that as on the record and another advertisement of the fact that look at what these people endorse. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, yeah, it's difficult getting like anyone on the left to like deal with any of those like and acknowledge any of shit when it comes to like freaking Islamist alliance.
Yeah. By the way, Samantha, I really appreciate you and the fact that on so many things you're, in my opinion, on the right side of history. Obviously, like you and me don't completely see eye to eye on many things, but on so many things we're both on the same side, and I really appreciate that you're here, and I consider you an ally.
So there are no more twos, but I would ask of the leftist that says that they're not funding terror is, well, then who, number one, who is funding them, because their activities are not free, and where would they be getting their money from? And also because it completely coincides with the fact that the Islamic regime has loads of money, has had loads of money in the past, obviously. And where is their money going if it's not going to Iran? Because it's obviously not going to Iran. And I don't know, it just seems to line up beautifully that their money is going somewhere. It's not going to Iran. And suddenly, and there are all these groups that are carrying out, the things that they say, like, death to Israel. And no one knows where they get their money. I think it just, I would ask those questions of them and see if they can answer.
Well, Nilbani, they don't consider those people who are chanting death to Israel like terrorists. Like they will, if we show that the Islamic Republic is funding them, it's not like it's I think the thing is not that they think Islamic Republic is not funding Hezbollah. The issue is that they don't consider Hezbollah to be terrorist. That's the issue.
So what according to them, what is Hezbollah?
A resistance freedom fighting force. Resistance freedom fighters.
But resistance to what?
Zionist
Israel!
occupation. Zionist occupation.
Okay, and then that corresponds with the death to Israel.
Yes.
So it matches up perfectly.
Yeah, death to Israel is fine in their opinion. Death to Israel.
I know death to Israel is fine with these nuts, but they say death to Israel, right? And so does the Islamic Republic. They have money. They have money that's going to them. They're neglecting the country and all the Iranians that live in Iran. So why would they be doing that? Why are they doing that? Why are they bankrupting their own the country and then giving it to these other people? Why are they doing that? What is their motivation? What is their goal?
Palestinian rights, indigenous Palestinian rights.
But why? Why would they do that?
To defend the Palestinian people with their indigenous rights to land.
But I get where you're coming from. But the thing is, though, why would Iranians care about that?
Solidarity.
No, that's insane. They would be going without food. They'd be going without, their entire country, their infrastructure is crumbling into nothing. Why on earth would they give up all those things for something so pie in the sky? It is fundamentally ridiculous.
Resistance till victory.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing.
Martyrs.
That is that is why that is why I mean that is essentially that is how I would tie them in knots, because it doesn't even make sense. It is so utopian and ridiculous. Now, given that these people believe that utopia exists simply by saying it does, so not all their marbles are there anyway. I just wanted to throw that out there, but that is what I would ask them, and just say, would you give up all of these things for something far, far away, and you would absolutely destroy your life and all of your neighbors' lives, your entire city and your community and your entire country for some random thing in another country? Would you do that? And ask them honestly, seriously, would you? And
no, they're gonna say yes. They're gonna if you
say
don't
yes.
think they would say yes, you don't know what they would do. Of course they would say yes. These are the same people who, after the Israeli hostages, I don't know if you remember, where it was 3 Israeli hostages were freed, but a number of Palestinians died in the rescue mission. These were the same people who right away took to Instagram saying if I'm ever kidnapped and the only way to get me back is to murder a bunch of innocent civilians to rescue me, then don't rescue me, just leave me. So yes, they're going to absolutely say yes. These people are emotionally addicted to feeling like they're on the right side of history and that they're the good guys and that they're the most moral, virtuous people, and they do not have the emotional capacity to admit that they wouldn't be willing to sacrifice themselves for the indigenous resistance movement of oppressed people.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is that there's a I think it was a street epistemology by Peter Boghossian, and it was where he essentially was talking to people that consider themselves, communists and think communism should be tried and it absolutely will work and all of these things. And their idea completely falls to pieces as soon as you ask them, oh, okay, well, it's going to be okay. I think they did on a college campus in the US, and they said, well, it's something like your grade will go to everybody else. You'll work hard and you have an A in this class, but then, that means that, and then everybody gets an A. And there, well, but but that's not fair. And it's yeah, but you're all equal now. You all have A's, but they didn't do any work. Yeah. And you did all the work, but you both get A's. How do you feel about that? And instantly they're just that's not fair. They're yeah, exactly. It's not fair. There you go. Yep. Your entire idea of things just crumbled into nothing. So anyway, it's almost 9. So next topic. Sorry.
No, we have 2 more twos before the super chat, mine and Sid. So
they rolled up there. Oh, yep, there you go. Sorry. You?
No worries. No. So I just wanted to give you a version of the answer that they would give to this. And it's interesting because I've heard this answer from Muslims, from leftists, and from Nick Fuentes. So the answer is that, again, so guys, I know the Iranian people are not the same as the Islamic Republic. Obviously, I'm Iranian, but I'm not I'm speaking from their perspective. Okay. So they say the Iranian people are the only people that have decided to pay the price for standing up to real oppression, to this global oppression, to this oppressive global power of Western imperialism and global Zionism. And the reason why you see them living in like this is because everybody else submitted and they have not. Everybody has submitted to this new global order, this new oppressive global order under the leadership of the United States and its proxy, Israel, or sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes it's Israel and US is the proxy. These days, like it used to be the other way around, but now it's more like Israel and US is the proxy. But it used to be it's US and Israel is the proxy. There comes in different flavors. And almost every country, including Islamic countries, Arab countries, have submitted. And Iran is resisting. Many people from other countries are resisting, but not their governments. Iran is the only country with also a government that is resisting. And the reason why the United States and Israel are this aggressive against Iran and have this much interest to paint them as evil is because they can't tolerate this, because they have to make an example out of them. Because the Iran has to fail for no other country to dare do such a thing, right? No other country should ever dare do such a thing. But it's interesting because with all the global power that United States and Israel and its allies have, with all the difficulties that the Iranian people are going through, they still haven't given up, and they're still fighting back, and they're still resisting, and somehow they have still survived. And this shows more than anything that they have a just cause, and they're fighting for something that is right. And not only that, it shows how amazing the Iranian people are, that they have chosen this life for themselves, because they have not been willing to submit, right? They have chosen this life. And in fact, if you ask me, would you give that up? Here's actually a better answer than yes, I would. No, because I'm not as brave as the Iranian people, and this is why I admire them. I look at them, and the least I could do is support them. I'm not as brave to give up that. And this is what the true bravery of the Iranian people shows, that they have willingly have accepted living in such harsher lives, because they have not accepting their, if you look at the world map, this is the only last part of the globe, of the world, that hasn't been taken over, right? And they're refusing, and the least we could do is support them against this evil imperialist Zionist force. So that would be the narrative. And Samantha is saying this is triggering. Yeah, Samantha, everything I said would be triggering to the Iranian people, like the most. So everything I said, like, especially because it's speaking on behalf of the Iranian people in support for what they consider to be their number one enemy. Think about how disgusting this narrative, as much as like a lot of you find what I said disgusting and vile and evil, right? But imagine if you had that reaction, what would an Iranian reaction to this be? Because at least when you're hearing this, you're not Iranian and they're not speaking on behalf of you, right? You hear this and you know how upside down this is. But an Iranian hears this, and not only it's upside down, it's them that is being used to make this point. Like, it is their views. This message is coming out as if it's their view. So imagine how extra triggering this is to an Iranian. And it's not just a misrepresentation of their view, it's a misrepresentation of their view in support to their of their oppressors, of their number one enemy. But yeah, anyways.
Okay, but accepting that scenario as true, wouldn't we then celebrate women, men, women, and children in supposed Palestine, in inverted commas? Shouldn't we just be super happy when they die? Because, oh, they're so giving and wonderful, and what they've done is fantastic, and I respect them so much.
No. They would say that they're sacrificing, but they shouldn't be needing to sacrifice. We should help them so that they don't have to sacrifice this much.
Why wouldn't we be helping the Iranians then?
No, because
If they're
they're sacrificing, but they shouldn't be. They're sacrificing because they're alone. They shouldn't be alone. We should go to their aid so that the sacrifice is not needed.
Yeah, but they're not up for aiding Iranians, are they?
Well, they think they are. They will say that, yeah, we're helping Iranians again. We should be helping Iranians against this evil Zionist imperialist Western order.
Yeah, but they don't have any money, and their economy sucks, and their misery index is what, 90? I mean, all of those things, those would be, if you wanted to help them, you would try and reverse that. How is more money going to proxies or resistance, whatever, going to help them in some way? That doesn't mesh. I'm sorry. I mean, I understand that Samantha is agreeing that the left is thinking that, and that probably sounds about right. Yes, but it doesn't actually make any sense. So all the suffering, and the suffering is amazing, and we love them and respect them for all the suffering. Then shouldn't you just keep the suffering going?
No,
because it's so wonderful.
No. Like, so for example, if we're admiring a mom suffering to make money so that she could pay for her child in hospital, to pay for her medical bills for her child in the hospital, we're admiring her, but we don't think the suffering is good, right? We just admire her for going through that hardship to save the child, but we're not enjoying the suffering. We're admiring her for going through all of that.
Yeah, but we're only calling Palestine a genocide. We're not calling Iran a genocide, are we?
No, they're calling Iran a genocide.
They're calling Iran a genocide because of not because of what the Islamic Republic does to Iranian people, but because of what United States and Israel do to Iranian people. They call that a genocide.
All right, I'm just trying to make sense of pure, unadulterated fucking stupidity. Okay, never mind. I'm gonna move on.
Right.
So,
can I just quickly say, more and more people are now accusing Marco Rubio of committing genocide against Cubans. Like, I've been hearing more and more like escalation of people, like very far left people, saying that, like, amongst each other.
So Samantha, why don't you ask a Cuban like me what we think of him? Okay? Don't listen to the other people. Ask the Cubans.
Yeah,
Samantha knows that's BS. She's just reporting the BS that they're spreading. Yeah.
And the same goes for asking Iranians. You know, just as easy. You can see people on the street. You know, the millions of people that came out on the 8th and the 9th. That just completely shatters this idea that they have in their heads. It's just ridiculous. And if that, then everything else is shattered as well.
If they meet an Iranian that gives a narrative that it goes against them, they consider them to be the minority and not representative of the Iranian people. That's what they would do. If they see polls that just otherwise, they will see it. They will see it as a Zionist propaganda. They will say it's the Jews control the media. They control the polls.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, it's it all stems from allowing people to have their own facts, and it goes back way deeper than that. It starts around the 90s. I won't even go into it. Anyway, next person is Siddhartha, and I'm always saying Siddhartha because I love that book.
Thank you, Nail Bunny. So yeah, I wanted to say that Nail Bunny, you were talking about the dysfunction in southern Lebanon and sort of Hezbollah dominated areas, and it just reminded me of this kind of a judo move that these despots do. And it's something that ties together, for example, Hezbollah and the Cuban communist regime, and many regimes like this is that they have a way of using their own failure as evidence of the treachery of their enemies. So the worse that they do, the more they can leverage it for the kind of international sympathy and the advancement of their own propaganda. And it's a very clever move, actually, because it allows their failure. It rewards them. They're rewarded for their own failure and mismanagement.
Yeah, I mean one of the worst things that's happened to civilization is the glorification of victimhood. So, Kat, you'd like to respond?
Yeah, I've actually, you reminded me of something, Armin. I watched like a while ago, maybe, I don't know, 6 months ago, when all the Iranian diaspora were protesting and all of that. I was watching a talk that a couple of lefties were doing online, like they love to do, speak of nothing in beautiful language. So they were speaking about how unfortunate it is that so many in the Iranian diaspora are just bought into the worst narratives, and they really find themselves identifying with I don't know, authoritarianism and like more of those words that they love to throw. And yeah, this is so sad. We don't want to like offend them, but we need to remind them like where the truth is. And the people on the talk were an Arab, a white woman, and someone who was maybe Iranian. I'm not sure. It was like so cringe. But yeah, they don't respect no one. No one.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the mistake that some of us make is that we try to appeal to their sense of reason, but it wasn't reason that got them where they are. So we have to see what it was that got them there and basically undo that. For not all of them, but for many of them, is that. And to me, it seems like for most people, it's not about a belief system that most accurately represents reality. For most people, it's about the people that they want to be associated with and the identity that they want to have. So beliefs are not about explaining reality the most accurate way possible. It's about how does this make me feel, and do I like that feeling, and who are the people who have this belief, and do I want to be associated with them?
I call it cowardice. So, super chats?
Yes, super chats. First we got Ashkon Lou. Thank you so much for the jewels. And then we had Eli02K with a super chat saying the regime is not Iranian, they are Muslim first. Absolutely. Islam first. For sure. Yes, 100%. It has always been about Islam, not about Iran. Absolutely true. Oh, and Elaine, thank you so much for the super chat. Are you not? Yeah. So hopefully we'll see you in the group soon. Saying if you're inclined to see best in people, then you underestimate how often people make opinions based on consensus and wanting to fit in. No research, no logic. That's exactly what I said. I promise, Elaine, I promise I did not read your super chat before I said that. I always say people's views are often picked by belonging to a group and also their identity. So it's not It's not a truth-seeking mechanism. It is a membership card and an identity card. That's what your beliefs are for most people, and it's human nature. It's rare, even when people have the correct opinion. Many times it's not about truth seeking. It's not about truth seeking. Many times, even people with the correct opinion is based on the tribe that they belong to and the identity that they have chosen for themselves, right? And this is human nature. So we have, if we want to get people more in the right direction, we have to find tools beyond just logical reasoning. Logical reasoning is important, so for us to know that we're advocating for the right thing. But after we are convinced that this is the right thing, then we need to use more tools than just reasoning to get people to the right side. And thank you so much for the super chat. V for Vanquish, thank you so much for the super chat. Really cool username. Saying, when they shut down the internet during periods of heightened unrest in Iran, don't you think that that indicates where the majority of the people stand? Exactly. Exactly. That's one of the best indications that the majority is against them. If you shut down the internet for people not to be able to communicate, that's an admission that people communicating is a communication against your narrative, right? If Iran had the majority of the people for the Islamic Republic, right? If Iranians were majority for the Islamic Republic, then the Islamic Republic, it would be the best interest of the Islamic Republic to get more people access to internet, not to shut down the internet. Every time it's being challenged ideologically, then more people in Iran being online would be within the best interest of the Islamic Republic, not less. That's a very good point, and thank you for the reminder. That's a very good point. And thank you for the super chat. All right. What's the next topic?
I also wanted to throw in that it's a point that Asmongold made months and months ago, and it was before I'd say a lot of people had heard of Reza Pahlavi, and it was that it was basically his Instagram, his social media. He had all these followers, millions and millions of followers, and then when they shut down the internet, the interaction percentage on those accounts dropped by essentially, the amount of people in Iran. It was incredibly dramatic how much interaction just disappeared when there was the blackout. And for him, it was like, that's pretty credible evidence of the support within Iran. I thought it was a very good point of his. So the next topic is Leor's, and it is practicing Muslim.
Hey guys, quick favor, Armin, can I give a quick shout out to somebody in French, like 10 seconds?
Yeah, of course, go ahead.
Ok, merci Armin. Alors, je voulais prendre un petit moment pour dire un gros bonjour à mon ami Mathias, comme je l'avais promis, et bien sûr à tous ceux qui nous regardent sur YouTube. Ok, had to do that. All right, so my topic. The other day, there was a stream, and I played it back, so I didn't watch it live. I have a bone to pick with you, Sid, so this is for you. You said you guys were talking about Abdullah Sayed and how, like, obviously you guys would never vote for him because his ideology is, like, terrible, and what he believes and all that. But then you said, like, but if he was a practicing Muslim, I'd be okay with it. Like something to that effect. And sorry, I'm like paraphrasing this and it's probably not very clear, but I guess, can we define what a practicing Muslim is? Because to me, practicing Muslim means that, like, you follow the Quran, and the Quran is bullshit. So yeah, I guess I just wanted to dig into that a little bit, and kind of understand the perspective. Like for me, I would never vote for any practicing Muslim. I know that sounds harsh, but like that just tells me that, you do Muslim things and you believe in the Quran and all that crap. So let's discuss. Let's unpack. And I see you, Kat.
I don't. Okay, yeah, that was funny. I don't think I said practicing Muslim. I thought. Didn't I
No,
say
not you,
non-
not you, Armin, not
Oh,
you, Armin.
okay.
You're good, Armin. I'm talking to Sid.
Okay, because
Maybe
because-
let's have Sid respond for this one.
okay, but my two is first, so I'll respond first.
Okay,
Okay,
okay. Go ahead.
because then it's Samantha, then it's Sid. Okay, so let me respond. Okay, to me, a practicing, because a lot of people are consider a practicing Muslim to be somebody who just prays and fasts, right? That is not at all a practicing Muslim, in my opinion. A practicing Muslim rapes. Okay, a practicing Muslim kills. Okay, a practicing Muslim does genocide. Okay, a practicing Muslim has sex slaves. Okay, so no, I would not vote for a practicing Muslim. What I would what I was mentioning was a nominal Muslim, not a practicing Muslim. A nominal Muslim is somebody who has no business calling themselves a Muslim, right? Right, but they still do for some reason, right? But in most senses, they are like the things that they support, the things that they're fighting for, are all un-Islamic. It's not just un-Islamic; it's actually anti-Islamic. But either for some reasons that they don't understand Islam, or some emotional reasons that they have attachments because of the childhood attachments that they have with being a Muslim, or the community that they belong to that they cannot let go of, they still choose to call themselves a Muslim, and they cannot let go of calling themselves a Muslim, even though but they stand against everything that they do. I mean, in my opinion, is against Islam. They still call themselves a Muslim. To me, that is a nominal Muslim. But a practicing Muslim needs to be, a practicing Muslim, based on how I define a practicing Muslim, would be arrested or worse, right? But yes, I has no business running for office, anyways, right? Anyways, let's go to the next person.
Next is Samantha.
Reza Pahlavi is a Muslim, so like if we support Reza Pahlavi, we're supporting a Muslim. I mean, it's pretty like I have no problem voting for a Muslim. I have a problem with anti-Zionists. I have a problem with people who want to eliminate my country. Like that's my issue. I am very grateful to any Muslim who is a Zionist, and I would absolutely hands down vote for a Muslim communist who is a Zionist.
So Samantha, I have a question. Do you agree that all of these Muslims that you mentioned, everything that they do and stand for goes against Islamic values?
I don't know if I would say everything they do goes against. I mean, like Dahlia wears a hijab, so she dresses conservatively. So I'm not going to say everything she does because the way she dresses doesn't go against Islamic values. So
It does.
no, I'm sure
The way she dresses even goes against Islamic values.
I mean, I'm sure if like someone were to follow them around enough, like they do something that doesn't go against Islamic values, or at least most of them. I mean, like
most of their values. How about that? Let's not go with everything. Most of what they stand for goes against Islamic values.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, possible. Like, it's definitely possible. I'm not like a huge expert on Islam and all of these.
Okay. Do you know Islam advocates for killing non-Muslims, for raping women, for having sex slaves, for having sex with children, raping children, for as anti-dog? It's it's anti-science.
Yeah, I know it advocates for that, but like it doesn't say you have to. It just says like you're allowed to. It doesn't say you have to take.
It does. It says you have to beat your wife, for example.
Well, that one, yes, but like it doesn't say you have to like marry a child. It doesn't say you have to have sex slaves.
Okay, but the fact that it allows it, right? I mean, these people don't believe that they should support that. These people don't think it should be allowed. It does tell you that you have to do
Oh.
jihad.
But different people define jihad differently. Like if your jihad is just like you're gonna have a nice Ramadan dinner and invite people to your like
The
post
Quran, the
Ramadan Eid
Quran
dinner,
makes it
like
clear that you have to fight non-Muslims. You have to, until all religion is for Islam.
okay.
So
I
these
think
people don't
that-
believe in that. So yeah. Sorry, go ahead, nobody.
I think that's actual taqiyya, isn't it? The whole redefining jihad. It's jihad isn't, how you're going to have a day, how you're going to, act today or whatever, some crap like that. It is actually, what Armin just said, that is jihad. And it's very clear in the Quran what jihad is.
So we have hadith that allows for different types of jihad. The Quran, the jihad in the Quran is all about violence and war. The hadith has jihad in other forms of jihad. But even if we have jihads that are not about, violence and war, the jihad that is about violence and war is mandatory. So you could say we have other types of jihad. Okay, sure, if you want to rely on the hadith. But the Quran makes it clear that the violent part of jihad is something that you should be doing, or at least supporting if you can. Like if you're like a woman or a child or disabled or too old, then you don't have to participate in war against non-Muslims, but you should be participating in helping the people who do.
Right.
And the main the main point that we're trying to make by saying all of this is that the Muslims that we support, most what they do and what they stand for and what they advocate for is anti-Islamic. It's not just un-Islamic. Is anti-Islamic. That's the point that I'm trying to make. Okay, sorry, nobody. Who's next?
I did want to say that I don't really consider practicing Muslim to be what you just said. I think that puts you in a position where your argument could easily be taken down because everybody, especially if you're somebody who knows a lot of Muslims and you consider them to be practicing Muslims and they're nice people and they wouldn't rape anybody. But what I consider a practicing Muslim is somebody who puts Islam above their nation, that being a Muslim, Islam is number one. That's more important than anything else. And I will point out, I can't remember who said, Samantha's pointed out that Reza Pahlavi is Muslim. This is why the mullahs hated the Shah. It's because he was Iranian. He was for the nation first, and that to them, and I think probably by the Quran, made him not Muslim in their eyes. Would that be right, Armin?
So yeah, I mean, Reza Pahlavi is not a practicing Muslim, right? And yeah, I mean, we could come up with different definitions, and we could work. Definitions are not set in stone, so we could work with whatever definition that makes us communicate easier. I'm okay with working with someone else's definition. Islamically, if you are, according to Islam itself, so we have for who's a Muslim, we have two definitions: the definition of a Muslim according to Islam, and the definition of a Muslim according to how it's most commonly used, right? According to Islam itself, if you are not practicing Islam while calling yourself a Muslim, you could still be a Muslim, but there's one condition. So, for example, if you believe in Allah and believe in Muhammad as his prophet and believe in the Quran as the direct word of God, but drink alcohol, has sex out of marriage, doesn't pray, doesn't fast, you're still a Muslim according to Islam. You're still a Muslim. You're a sinning Muslim. You're a Muslim that is constantly sinning, and you will pay for your sins in the afterlife, but still you're a Muslim. As long as you don't deny that you're sinning, as long as you don't deny that these are the commandments of Allah, So according to Islam, if I am a Muslim and I drink alcohol, and if Nail Bunny comes and asks me, Armin, you're a Muslim, why are you drinking alcohol? If I respond, I know it's a sin, I'm doing something wrong, I shouldn't be drinking, then I'm still a Muslim, but a sitting Muslim. But if I respond to Nail Bunny that says, who said drinking alcohol is a sin? This is not a sin. Allah doesn't care if I drink alcohol. If that's my response, then I have left the fold of Islam because I am denying the commandment of Allah. And that's a takfirable offense. That means that I could be excommunicated. I could be announced as a non-Muslim if I do that, if I deny the commandment of Allah. So that's how it works Islamically.
And if I were a Muslim, then I would unalive you, right?
So there's two views on this. So one view says that you cannot just randomly unalive somebody that has left Islam. There needs to be a shura, there needs to be a council of experts that announces that this person is now an apostate, a murtad, and his blood is halal. And then you are allowed to do that, but you have to wait for the ruling of a council to announce that. But another view is that given in this evil world that we live in, there's no councils like that available, and we don't have Sharia law ruling, then some people think that you can take matters into your own hand. But there are different views on this.
Can we have Sid respond, please?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. So I did say that, Leo, and let me clarify my statement and explain to you what I meant. So what I was saying with regards to Al Sayed is that, to me, his Muslim identity is not disqualifying for me. It's funny because Sam had just said that she would vote for a Muslim communist Zionist. I would not, by the way. Okay, for me, a communist identity is essentially disqualifying, right? So I would not vote for a communist. But for me to explain myself, I have to. Okay, so first of all, let me say this. I'm not a scholar. I'm not an expert in Islam. I'm not steeped in tasfir or exegesis or anything like that. But what I do know of the text of the doctrine is deeply troubling to me. So I would, and this is actually one of the reasons why I found Armin so many years ago, is because Armin was one of the few people who was actually giving criticism of Islam. I felt like it was not really tolerated in sort of mainstream discourse. So this was sort of my discovery of this of Armin and this group of like ex-Muslims and so on doing it, because I was observing behavior that was deeply troubling, and then at the same time I was just hearing all these rationalizations and excuses. And then my connection with Israel, my very deep connection with Israel, caused me to be even more and more alarmed, right? Because I'm seeing the behavior and it's not matching my understanding of reality. And it's not just my understanding of reality, but my desire to understand. So the more and more I wanted to educate myself, the more and more I found that the excuses and the rationalizations are not adding up. Okay, so having said that, it is really because of my investment, my emotional investment in Israel, that I have a kind of complex relationship with Islam because of the existence, however marginal, however fringe, of the Zionist Muslim. And the Zionist Muslim has, especially following October 7th, where there was such an orgy of Israel hate and so much sort of social reward for displaying your hate of Israel. The Zionist Muslim who stands up and says, no, if you're attacking Israel, you're also attacking me. Look at me. Look at me. I also condemn you. I also condemn Hamas. I also support Israel. That it was deeply moving to me. So I've always been aware of this, fringe, extreme fringe of Zionist Muslims. I've always been aware. I've always appreciated that. Again, I don't know how they justify it based on their own understanding of the doctrine. And I should just mention beyond that, I've encountered deeply learned Zionist Muslims. I don't know what kind of mental gymnastics they're doing, to justify. I don't really get it. Like these of course, we know about the sort of, the nominal Muslim who it doesn't really even know their texts or whatever, and they can sort of fill it in with whatever they want. But in certain cases, I've even come across very, very learned, very well-read Zionist Muslims. I don't know how they assemble the pieces to make that work, but they do. And I can tell you in the sort of aftermath of October 7th, especially, I found that so moving. And it's not only that I would vote for somebody like that. I would vote for a Zionist Muslim in a heartbeat ahead of a Jewish anti-Zionist. In a heartbeat, I would do that. Okay. And beyond that, I could be friends with a Zionist Muslim. I've seen it. I can be friends with them. I can cooperate with them. I can go to their weddings. I can go to the birth of their children because I feel it. I feel that it's genuine. And I don't know what is going on in their head, but what I can say is that I appreciate it so much and I love them for that. So,
sorry,
go ahead.
Yeah. No, I just want to ask, question, yes or no, do you agree with the definition of a practicing Muslim as per Armin's description? Do you align with that?
I hate to get into this to some degree because
guys, let me just clarify that I don't think other people mean or should mean what I mean when I say practicing Muslim. That is just a personal way that I see when somebody says practicing Muslim. To me, practicing Muslims means practicing Islam, and then I remember what Islam means, and I'm like, okay, a practicing Muslim must do these things, in my opinion, right? But I understand. I'm not suggesting that other people should use this definition. My definition doesn't make sense for daily communication, right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking if he agrees with you.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, that's fine as well, right? Just want to know.
Yeah. So no, I guess okay. So I have a kind of, I guess, a Durkheimian understanding of belief. So I believe that, like, from that perspective, the belief is truth. And so what the practicing Muslim believes is Islam and is right, like, that is their decision, not mine, right? So I can say that I'm confused, right? If you see a practicing Muslim who shares my values, right? Who is, like, let's say, pro-American and pro-Israel and believes in universal human rights, and if you see that and you say, like, okay, that's very confusing to me because I don't really see the justification for that in the text, but they say, yes, I do. It's really up to them and not up to me. So so I guess from that standpoint, I do think it's possible for somebody to genuinely believe that they're a practicing Muslim and yet share a lot of values with me. So I think it's possible, but I do think it's also rare. And what I'm talking about is a very fringe group. It's not really representative. And I think that the representative behavior, unfortunately, is very much like it can be easily derived from the doctrine, from what I can see. Does that make sense, Leo?
Yep, makes sense.
Right.
I appreciate your response.
Yeah, and thanks for the question. And I appreciate you asking me to clarify. Really, I do.
I've got a lot of Alistair's next.
All right, I'll make it very quick. Going back to, like, the kind of like the definition of, like, or like the redefining definitions of, like, words like jihad, right? Let's just say, for argument's sake, that jihad does mean let's go have a fantastic evening and a fantastic day with the family. I've never, ever seen or heard anybody say, I'm going to go do jihad and then go and actually have a nice day with their family. As a matter of fact, the last person that was named jihad drove a car into a synagogue in Manchester on Yom Kippur.
Yep, good point. Next is Armin.
Yeah. So, talking about Zionist Muslims, I'm gonna, if you guys have time, please watch an interview I did with Dalia Zaida, right? She, let me actually put the link in the chat. Okay. Watch her and tell me, because I love her. Okay. She's a hijabi Muslim and I love her. Okay. And she's on our side. And not only she defends Israel, she has risked her life defending Israel. Like they came after her. Like she risked so much. She risked her life for defending Israel, a hijabi Muslim woman. And yeah, exactly. She's really, really brave. So please, again, I'll put the link one more time in the chat. You guys go check it out. And again, I understand that this is rare. I understand that most Muslims are not like this, but the ones that are, we celebrate them. Also, I do want to remind everybody that there are Muslims, Arab Muslims, not Arab Christians, not Arab, atheists, not Arab Jews. I mean, we do also have that, and not Arab Druze, but Arab Muslims who serve in the IDF. In the IDF, Muslims who serve in the IDF, and proudly so. Okay, and not only they're proud of serving in the IDF in defending their country, Israel. Israel celebrates them. The IDF celebrates them, right? And they constantly highlight them. So just a reminder. And again, I know that's not a representation of most Muslims. I do know that, like everybody keeps wanting to remind us, it's not something that but the ones that are, we appreciate them. And they are on our side. And one thing is, like, people say, Sid was saying, I don't know how could they justify this. Like, how could they, if they're aware of Islam and they know, like, they're learned people and they read the Quran, how they could justify this? People compartmentalize. Like, I know people who are extremely intelligent in so many different takes, and they're kind people, and they're brilliant and smart in so many different ways. And then after so many years, I realized that they think 9/11 was an inside job. I'm like, what the hell? Right? And on so many different things, in so many different categories, they have the best opinions and the most nuanced takes. But then in this area, like, what? Okay, here you're retarded, right? So it is possible. It is possible, and people could be completely misinformed and have justifications for the most insane takes in one area, but then not in others, right? It is a thing. All right, sorry. Who's next?
We'll go to super chats.
Super chats. Thank you so much. V for Vanquish with a very generous super chat saying, we have to admit that many Muslims around the world don't really know why they are Muslim. Right, yes. They simply prefer to rally around someone who claims to be a Muslim cleric, and follow whatever he says without questioning it or applying reason and logic. Yes, there are many people like that. I met many people like that, for sure. Yeah, that's 100% true. And thank you again for V for Vanquish. Thank you so much for continuing to support us. It's very generous. Amir, thank you so much for the super chat. Amir is saying Zionist Muslim does not exist. Islam wants a caliphate. Okay, so that means when you say Islam wants a caliphate, that means that Zionism and Islam are inconsistent. Okay, Zionism and Islam. That means Zionism and Islam contradict each other, which is true. But if you say Zionist Muslim doesn't exist, that's a claim. That claim suggests that people do not hold contradictory ideas. And people do have like not just Muslims, many people, most people, including us, including you and me, we do hold contradictory viewpoints, and the reason why we do hold them is because sometimes it's because we are not aware of them. Like, I know that it's almost certain that some of the views that I'm holding right now contradict each other. You might ask me, like, well, Armin, why are you holding them if they contradict each other? It's because I don't know which ones contradict each other. If I knew that they contradict each other, I wouldn't be holding them at the same time. So for many Muslims, they are holding contradictory viewpoints. Like we have Muslims who believe in tolerance of, I don't know, LGBT people, for example. Does that contradict Islam? Yes, 100%. But do they hold contradictory viewpoints? Yes, they do. So to suggest that a Zionist Muslim doesn't exist because Islam wants the caliphate, it's the suggestion that people cannot hold contradictory viewpoints, and people absolutely can hold. It's not logical, but they absolutely can hold contradictory viewpoints. It is absolutely something that people could do. And again, Amir, thank you so much for the super chat. And then we have Shana. We miss you, Shana. Shana with the super chat saying, same Sid, so I agree with Sid, saying, I would vote for a Zionist Muslim over an anti-Zionist Jew. Yeah, me too. I'm 100% without hesitation. Yeah. That's not even a hard choice. Anti-Zionist? Like, no, never voting for that, of course. And thank you, Shana. Me too. I agree with both you and Sid. And Amir, love you, man. I know we disagree, but I love you. Okay. Yeah, look at this. We're getting hard. All right. So, what's the next topic?
Next is Cora with a Churchillian pep talk. I don't know if he's delivering it or not.
Okay. Oh, you're muted. You're muted. This is amazing. Okay. Wait, you're muted.
Can you all see and hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I have
Yes.
prepared a speech. Ladies and gentlemen, in the Near East and across the sea, in this hour where the future may seem uncertain and where great struggles may yet lie ahead, take heart. For this historic moment, a great and unbreakable bond has been reforged between the ancient and distinguished races of the Persians and the Jews, together with the great power and force of the New World. And in this unity, they will conquer the barbaric Mohammedan foe, and the light will once again shine forth upon the mountains and hills of the land of Darius and Cyrus. And as the ancient Persian civilization carries on for thousands of years hence, men will still say, this was their finest hour.
Bravo, bravo.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was amazing. Thank you for that. Wow, this is amazing, guys. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Corey. Loved it. Oh, yeah, people in the chat. Here, here. Yes. Well done. People are saying in the YouTube chat.
I was nervous. That was not easy.
Huh? Say that again.
Nervous. That was not easy.
That was not easy. Well, it was worth it. People in the chat, YouTube chat, saying that was amazing. Well done. Yeah, here. Okay, that was people are clapping. That was great. Okay. That was awesome. Yeah, Rebecca in the chat is saying. Oh, okay. We have twos. We have twos for this. Okay, let's go to the twos.
Pipit Huzzah. So first is Siddhartha.
Yeah, Kare, I was just thinking, like, when you initially turned on the light and you were doing the voice, I was like, this is hilarious. This is funny. And then about halfway through, I'm like starting to feel the spirit, like I'm getting inspired. I really feel pumped right now.
Yeah, it wasn't just funny, it was inspirational.
I was trying to think how he would have said it, and I wrote it that way.
That's good. Very talented.
Next is Kathy.
I wasn't sure if Corey was attempting to play Winston Churchill, but that's the first thing I thought of, and he did extremely well. Bravo.
Thank you.
Now, Jose?
Great job. Loved it. Unfortunately, to all our UK members in chat and YouTube and here, Churchill's not back. You're stuck with the dopes you have right now until your election is called. And even then, may the Lord bless you all.
Yeah, we need Churchill at these times.
Thank you, Jose. So are there super chats?
No super chats. So we could go to the next topic. And again, thank you, Corey. That was brilliant. That was brilliant. Thank you.
Next is Alistair.
Yeah. So, first of all, I don't know how I'm going to beat Churchill, but I'll give it a shot. Great impression. So I wanted to talk about kind of like the state of U.S. higher education at the moment. As someone with a pretty firsthand experience in this. So just for like a little context, brief context, I'm a political science and international relations major and minor at a New York State college. I'm not really going to get into much details, but yeah. And over like the past 2 years, as my time there, there's been not like a shift, but kind of just like an explosion of these socialist communist ideas. And the reason why I want to like this is such a big deal is for me is because like my school is not like one of those big foreign funded universities or colleges, right? It's like a smaller state college with barely any foreign investment, right? Like I did the research. It's mainly just social media and kind of like by word, like spread by mouth, like word of mouth, kind of spreading of these ideas. And I mean, it's everywhere. So in one of my political science classes last semester, 38 of the 40 kids in the class thought there was a genocide in Gaza. Me and one of the other kids were the only two that said no, it's a war. And that's just like one of the like firsthand examples I can give you. And then just this past week, I had moved my sister was moving into her college, also in New York. It's a bigger university in New York. And then I also helped move my friend up there. And those were like, I thought my school was bad. Those are even worse. You're walking through the place and there's Palestinian flags, there's queers for Palestine, there's like fight fascism, Antifa posters everywhere. There's these big like music gatherings that are just blasting Arabic music with foreign exchange students in the middle of the place. So, and the reason why again this caught my attention is because these are not like the big Ivy League foreign funded universities. These are just like social media word of mouth spread kind of style, and it's taking over the universities and the campuses this much, even in those circumstances.
What do you think we could do about it? Like, what's your recommendation, or do you see any way? Like, are you pessimistic about the direction that it's going? Do you have any recommendations?
Well, I'm very pessimistic. Just because of like it's the lack of critical thinking in all of it, right? It's just because it's not even just the classes, right? It's not even just the classes are kind of like indoctrinating you. It's like every part of student life now is these indoctrination cycles and things like the Antifa clubs and all of these different like, you know, Gays for Gaza clubs and all this different stuff. I mean, I did a tally at my school alone. There's 24 different Islamic clubs. 24. So like in general, I'm fairly pessimistic, but I would like to be wrong. The best way that I can see of fighting it is you need to just kind of fight the ideas at heart using their own logic against them. So like the argument I use, right? For example, just like the Israel Palestine isn't a country, but Gaza, right? Is I point out that Israel is actually one of the world's only like decolonial projects, right? Where the indigenous population went back to their land, revived their old language and etc. So I kind of like use their own ideology like against them or play it into that. And I think that's like the best way you have to go against it is you have to use their own ideology against them.
That's a great idea. So what I think is that the faculty and the administration of the universities have completely laid down on the job. They have just this was an opportunity for them to actually step up and have candid debates and invite everyone to say what they actually think, but to also bring facts. And that's what they should have done. And they didn't, because they were terrified. And probably because and they were afraid of the administration sacking them. So, if you were a professor that wanted to have that sort of debate, then because the students are not viewed, they're viewed as customers now, paying customers, and that is a serious problem. That is probably at the root of it all, is they're seen as paying customers, and that is not what they are. You're supposed to get an education. You're not supposed to make your professors jump through the hoops to make you happy because you're paying them. So because the administration treats them that way, they treat them as paying customers, and you've offended the customer. So now we have to get rid of you, professor, because you've offended the customer. And that was how they completely destroyed every possibility of having an open dialogue about what was happening. And the fact is, you bring the facts to the table, it's easy. It's actually a slam dunk in a debate, because all the facts are on Israel's side. History is on Israel's side. All the evidence is on Israel's side. And it would have been very, very easy. And that could be applied to Iran as well. But because that is the structure in American universities, and quite frankly, it's everywhere else, that's, in my opinion, that is the root of the problem. So next is Siddhartha.
Yeah, so just want to thank Alistair for the report. That is certainly disturbing, but I would say not unsurprising. I also share his pessimism about the future of these institutions, because I think that they are so thoroughly captured that they just cannot reform themselves. I mean, there's one thing you say if like, oh, there is like a silent majority that knows a lot of this, like social justice activism is counter to the mission of the institution, and is just afraid of the sort of reign of terror and the cancel culture and so on. But I think that, I mean, my impression is that too many of them are too far gone. So, and this taps into a common theme of mine that I think that this is downstream from a decades long effort. By the Soviets, the KGB, and then following in their wake, the Muslim Brotherhood and the Islamic Republic as well, to infiltrate the institutions, and they have a number of techniques on which they do this. And one of the things Alistair talked about is that they're not teaching critical thinking, so they're like basically just pumping slogans into students' heads. But so this is all very alarming. But I would say that there is a reason to be hopeful here. If you are pro-Western, there's a reason to be hopeful, And that is that although these despotic failed regimes are extremely good at exporting propaganda and infiltrating the soft underbelly of the West through the sort of like intellectual class and the media and the NGOs and so on, even though they're very successful at doing that, what they can't do is they can't deliver prosperity to their own people. And similarly, once these institutions are infected, they cannot do good scholarship. It becomes increasingly harder and harder and harder to do this. And the people that they produce, it's increasingly harder and harder for the students to do anything productive. So this is their weakness. And it's going to take a long time. It's going to take a long time and a concerted effort for us to dismantle their influence. And one of them is diagnosing the problem. And then I think one thing that Alistair said that I would quibble with is he says use their own logic against themselves. So I'm not saying not to do that, Alistair, by the way, but my own impression is that what we don't want to do is in the process endorse their logic. Which is kind of what the bait that they're giving is like, okay, when you start to use my logic, then you're endorsing my logic. And so instead, what I prefer to do, I don't want to say it's either or, but I would say like from my vantage point, my preference is to exploit their differences and exploit their contradictions, the contradictions of the red, green, pride, brown, black alliance, right? These people ultimately, they hate each other. They don't necessarily, it's not in their face because it's very easy for them to sort of bond over their shared hatred of Israel in the West. But behind that, there is a deep hate and distrust of each other. And that's something that we need to pull out and we need to keep throwing in their faces until they start fighting with each other.
Next is Jose.
Yeah, sure. I want to ask you a question. How many credit hours are you taking a semester?
I'm taking like five classes, so around like I think 18.
Okay. Yeah, that's about what I was taking when I went to USF. And I never found any time whatsoever to go into any of the clubs or anything like that. So I'm wondering how many credit hours those students are taking that can do this. What are their majors and stuff like that there. I put in the chat something that Neil Bunny agreed with, that we should increase the credit hours because the more credit hours you have, the less time you have to do anything but work on your scholarship, work on your degree. Okay. And the reason I'm saying that is because I found out that even at my old university, that 18 has been dropped down to 12 credit hours as being considered a heavy load. All right. And it's like, all right, that's nice. Except if I hadn't clept out going from high school to college, I have not clept out of algebra, geometry, trigonometry, and statistics, that would have been another 12 credit hours I would have had to take within my first couple of years. All right. And that's a fucking heavy load one way or another, if you know what I mean, Alistair. So yeah, I was wondering that, and also wonder if we would take away the tenure of some of the professors. They're I don't know how many universities do that now, but I know in Florida that's a big thing. You get a tenure, you can write your own check, and the school can't fire you for anything. Okay, so even if the school wanted to do something to you, that tenure, that right to exist, right to print your own books, right to sell them at whatever the heck you want to sell them at, which I thought was the biggest scam of all in college. Yeah, without that, the universities are powerless. They can't, as long as they have tenured professors, they really can't do one once they get there. And I know not all professors get to that tenure level, but it is something that needs to be looked at within the system itself. Just saying. I do like what you're trying to do. I wish you luck. Unfortunately, me and Sid are going to have to agree on this. Using their own tactics to get against them is a great starting point, but be prepared to go hard-headed against them with solid facts that they cannot logic away. Do not give them the time of day when you just go ahead and use their system against them. No, don't give them that.
Okay, so I have 3 more replies, and it's on the hour, so I'd ask you all to be brief. The first one is Elisa.
I'm not hearing anything. Is it just me?
No, I can't hear her.
Elisa, we don't have your audio. So maybe we could go to the next person until she.
Next is
she's not-
Kathy.
Okay.
This is more of an idea, probably a crazy idea, but Sid gave me the idea, and it's a hypothetical. What if 2 can play that game, and we paid into the systems as well, and turned the narrative against them? More like, say, like, what if Pahlavi donated to these institutions, for example, to turn the narrative around, and sort of how Qatar is infiltrating all the universities and push our narrative in favor of anti Palestine and pro Iran's freedom, like something like that. That's just an idea I had.
Okay. Who's next?
Well,
Okay.
Alistair.
Short.
So
30 seconds.
yeah, I'll keep it short. So the problem I have with what Kathy said is that I agree, but the problem is this whole like thing is a seed that needed to be planted like 20 years ago in our favor. The Qataris, the Chinese, the Russians, they planted that seed 15, 20, 30 years ago, and it's now just showing its fruit. So I think we're very late to the game on this, and we're playing catch up essentially.
Elisa, are you able to have audio?
Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'll say did you hear anything of what I said before, or was my audio gone
Elisa,
completely?
we have like 30, like I'm already over time. We have 30 seconds. We didn't hear anything.
Okay. Okay, Alistair, if there is a TPUSA chapter on your campus or close to your campus, plug in with them. Do not blackpill, do not despair. The whole point of this communist propaganda is to make you feel alone and to keep you down. Don't let them win. Link arms with people, with like-minded people like in this community who are fighting the same fight that you're fighting. Don't be naive and bury your head in the sand, but also don't be depressed and in your feelings either. So stay prayerful, stay in the fight, don't give up.
That was pretty good. I'm glad we got to you. I'm glad you got your audio fixed because that was important. Nobody?
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, no, that's all. That's everybody. So you can go to the super chat, or I think there's only one.
We got one super chat. V for Vanquish, thank you so much for the super chat saying, I wonder what percentage of people actually know about these 3 historical agreements. Hossein McMahon, the Sykes-Picot Agreement. Yes. So the first one is 1916. The Sykes-Picot Agreement is 1916 as well. The Balfour is 1917. So the Hossein, is that the people who ruled over Hejaz? Yes. So I think that's the agreement. So these are 3 different contradictory, I think, agreements that violated each other. Yes, but look into that, especially the Sykes-Picot Agreement, because that is the reason behind a lot of the conflicts that we have today. I wish I could spend time more talking about these more right now. But thank you, V for Vanquish. Guys, screenshot that and look into these. These are important. And yeah, so thank you for the support, V for Vanquish. Thank you for being here and supporting us so much. I appreciate you. And I have to go get ready for the next stream, guys, on YouTube. That's going to start in half an hour, so you make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss that. People in the group call, I'll see you guys same time tomorrow. A great discussion today. Love you guys. That was really great. And guys, the conversation continues without me here in the group call. So if you want to join our discussion group and participate in this, in whatever they going to talk about next. The link is in the description. The link is in the QR code at the top left. Reminder that we have these calls every single day. Every single day we have these calls. So consider joining by clicking the link in the description or in the QR code at the top left. All right, guys, that's me. I'll see you guys in half an hour or tomorrow. And until then, I'm Israel Chai, Slava Ukrainie, Cuba Libre, Taiwan Jiayo, Long Live America, Javid Shah, Payande, Iran. Mwah. See you guys soon.